everyone. I'm Darian Gold, and welcome to All Things Pilates Season 6. As we dig deeper into the life of a contrologist, this season's guest list shares what the Pilates methodology can offer to anyone who desires health and wellness. On this show, we'll explore, seek, and investigate what's possible when we incorporate contrology into our lives. Over the course of nearly 100 years, the design, form, and manufacturing of Joe Pilates' invention, the reformer, hasn't changed much. But manufacturing materials have continued to evolve, and in the 1950s, Joe's reformer changed from a wood frame to that of aluminum. In this episode, Joseph DeRuvo, the creator of Barefoot Contrology and co-founder of Universal Pilates Machine, is about to change our idea of Joe's apparatus designs. Hello, Joseph. Welcome to the show again.
Hey, Darian. Nice to be back. A pleasure to be asked back to anywhere.
Thank you. Joseph, first off, will you tell our listeners what is Barefoot Contrology?
Barefoot Contrology is my Pilates studio, and it's what I've been working under as far as building and designing my Pilates equipment. Barefoot Contrology, as far as the name goes, is just very personal because I don't wear shoes. So I live in Connecticut. We have a full winter, and I'm barefoot year round. I run barefoot throughout the year. So
that is really bizarre.
So
I'm sorry to even say that. It's probably rude of me as a host.
It gets worse. I mean, I'm in New York City subways.
Oh my gosh.
Boston sub. Oh
Joseph.
Yeah, I travel. We travel. Shout out to Alaska Airlines. I was able to travel from the East Coast all the way out to Seattle, back and forth. They never made me put on shoes. It was a lovely flight. But yeah, I'm barefoot. I'm barefoot continuously. And the New York Times.
Okay, wait a second.
Go ahead.
No, wait a second. Let me. Okay, because the Virgo OCD person is coming out right now. So how do you keep your feet clean? Number one. Number two, you are probably this perfect spokesperson to develop or invent some kind of cleaner for the feet that only someone who goes barefoot would understand what is needed.
Someone sent me Foot Balm, and I was like, this is the last thing on the face of the earth I need. They are so calloused and they are so ground in. There's no cleaning them. They just wear away. It's like the ground is a continuous pumice stone.
But do you feel footwork on the ball of the feet, arches and heels, for example? Do you feel your feet?
I've lost, I think, some amount of feeling in my feet. So I don't quite react. I don't quite react the same way. But I appreciate the work because the work makes the feet stronger, and that I can absolutely attest to. But let me say this: the New York Times did. It was just about a year ago. The New York Times did a lovely story. Absolutely, Katie Grossman. She actually did the story on the Pilates court case moving through right now with copyright, and she had met me through that, and she was moving into doing a new position for the covering New York for the Times, and she reached out and she said, I think it'd be great to do a story on you. So she did, and it was like a 4-month whirlwind of, I was talking to TV shows in New Zealand and Australia. It was funny. And I had no desire. I said to her, Katie, there's got to be more important things than me going around barefoot. And she was like, it's about the context. And I was like, but it came down to, it's me making an accommodation for how I am best able to get through my life. I have sensory issues. I have inoperable bunions. It's a meditative and prayerful process for me, feeling the ground. So I have,
which you can feel. Which
yeah.
you
Oh,
can
yeah.
still
I can
feel.
feel. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can feel. I mean, I step on things. I can feel. But it is a sensory issue also. So it's an accommodation that I make, and it doesn't cost anyone anything. And in the article, she was just so good to bring out the fact that everyone needs accommodations, whether it's glasses or hearing aids, or it's a walking cane, or I mean, whatever it is, everyone needs accommodations. You can only sleep in a completely dark room without any lights flashing.
Okay, I understand.
We should have the grace and the compassion to allow people the accommodations they need. If it's not costing you anything, what's the issue? So Barefoot Contrology just made perfect sense. And so that's what I've been working under.
How long have you had your studio?
It's been since before COVID, before quarantine and all that. So 4 years now. Is it 4 years?
Definitely at least 4.
Yeah.
And your training came from where?
The great, the illustrious Simona Cipriani from Art of Control.
Ah.
She took me in. It was me, Joe, and Kathy Ross that pointed me in her direction. I wasn't aware of the formalities of what Pilates certification was. And I actually reached out to me, Joe, and said, can I just follow you around and see what you do? And she was like, no. But she was like, go and see Simona. Simona will love you. Go and talk with her. So I went and talked with her. And so she certified me. But then I've been working with her and helping her along the way for many years now.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are in present time. You have your Barefoot Contrology studio.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point recently, or maybe not, because maybe these ideas have been percolating in your head for a long time, but you co-founded a company called Universal Pilates Machine. How did it come about? And then how does that company dovetail with Barefoot Contrology?
Okay, so in trying to be so conscious of answering the question asked, it's been decades. I've been designing equipment. I was designing Pilates equipment before I was certified, before my ass even touched a reformer. I was designing Pilates equipment. The gym that we go to had a Pilates studio. I was lifting weights. I was looking into the studio. I was looking at the device, and I was going, I think this can be done better. I had never even tried one. So I had been drawing it out, thinking it through, making renderings of it for years. And then when I finally started training and teaching, my design became a little bit more insightful. So yeah, the process has been forever, prototyping, redesigning. But as of just this year, the Universal Pilates Machine came into existence. And that was fortuitous, because if left to myself, I would not be able to push this stone up the.
You'd be the mad scientist in the back room.
Yeah, that's right. Just on my own, working through this for the millionth time, going, I think tweak this. But the Universal Pilates Machine, we just call it UPM. But that came about because one of my partners, Charlie Hafner, reached out just out of the blue and said, I see what you're doing. Are you thinking of doing it seriously? And can I help you and be part of it? And I was like, yes. and he was like, well, maybe we should meet. And so we had a couple of Zoom meetings. And I said to him, well, he was like, if we're going to be serious about this, then you're going to do this full time. We have to rent space. We have to kind of move this along. And what kind of help do you need? And I was like, well, I know how to design. I know what my idea is. I've been prototyping it. My clients have been using it. No one's died.
Yeah.
Every time I make an adjustment on it, I go, I tweaked it. You might die. I don't know. So, but I said to him, I said, Charlie, I know a bunch of people who have started businesses, entrepreneurs, going way back. And I said, they're all a bunch of old white men. And they all solve problems using the same old white man algebraic formulas. And they solve those problems usually to benefit them, the bottom line, and usually at the expense of others. And I was like, Charlie, the last thing I want to do is start a business that is going to use all those same formulas and create the same thing that has already gone on before us. So I have, thank God, I can model, I can render in 3D, I can think through something. But when it comes to a business and finances and how a business functions and runs, I can give you my opinion, but it's not a language, it's not a vocabulary that I am, fluent in. So if you can do that, that's all I need. Put some structure on it that solves the problems differently than, how they have been. So Charlie came into the picture, and then Russell Soder from Lineage, I reached out to him and I said, Russell, this is what we're looking to do. I want to give you a heads up in case you were thinking of moving into expanding into larger apparatus and stuff like that. I just want to let you know, I appreciate you and this is what I'm doing. I just want to let you know, that's what I'm doing. And by the end of
that was honorable. That was honorable of you. I
like Russell, but
it's professional.
I've talked to practically everyone out there also. I have never been secretive about what I'm doing. David at Gratz and Ken at Balanced Body. I've showed lots of people my prototypes and my designs, and I said, this is something that's needed. Are you interested?
Oh.
And everyone is like, we can't keep up with demand as it is. Venturing into something different is only going to make our lives, more complicated. It's just not worth it for us. And I'm like, okay. So Russell came on, and the tagline for Universal Pilates Machine is design, fabrication, and service. And we spent a lot of time thinking of a name that would kind of incorporate a triad, the three of us coming together. And none of them were working particularly well. Universal is a play on Joseph Pilates, first calling it the Universal Reformer. I never knew how he meant universal in Universal Reformer, but for me and my design, universal means there's a flexibility in how this whole thing works. It breaks down for shipping. It is modular in design. There's the ability to kind of ship it out any place without needing a pallet truck, without needing a forklift to drop it onto the sidewalk. It's made to be universally accessible. So that was the idea. The Pilates is Pilates itself, it's self-explanatory. The machine, people, those amongst the classical circle, they
don't say that in front of Ramona.
They take great offense. But it's a misunderstanding.
Okay.
because our reference to the machine is not the apparatus. The apparatus, I'll generally call apparatus. The reference to machine is the manufacturing part. We are the machine. The three of us, the production facility, that's the machine that makes the apparatus.
Oh, do you explain that?
Well, I mean, yeah, when I designed the apparatus, I designed it with the intention, if I'm getting off subject, my motivation for designing the apparatus in the first place. In the first place, it was just a design exercise. That's my compulsion.
Go-to language.
Yeah. If I hold something for 3 minutes in my hand, I'm redesigning it.
Get it fit.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, but really, the call was recognizing that Pilates as a universe is very socioeconomically myopic. It's narrow in its scope. We don't see diversity. We don't see a large economic accessibility for it. We have our stereotype of what most people in Pilates either look like or how they live. And my motivation was to try to change that. And each person uses the tools that they have at hand to try and work on the task that they have before them. And my thought was, I pray, my call was to design apparatus that would be more democratic in its accessibility.
Well said.
So, someone dropping $100,000 on a studio and being told that it's not going to be delivered for a year or 15 months.
Yes.
It's a very small strata of people who can play that game.
Afford. Yes.
And I wanted to design equipment that would be affordable, accessible, literally accessible, like UPS can drop it off and you can carry it into your studio space. And if you have to move, you can break it down and put it in your car and move it to the next space. I mean, I wanted that kind of accessibility in the hopes of bringing new people, different people, into the experience, because the work is good. The work should be shared. It should be available, but not contemporary.
Okay, so I have to ask you this.
Go ahead.
Obviously, you used some equipment that existed before you started that you had to design from the existing apparatus.
Yeah, template.
So who's?
Yeah. It was all Gratz. I mean the.
So you're using Gratz Industries as your template, but then you saw places that potentially needed.
I mean every place, there is nothing. There is.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, sure. But let me just say this quickly. What I used Gratz classical equipment, what I used it for was understanding what people's muscle memory is. So the measurements, like I think I'm being very bold here. But I think I have measurements and insights to the ratios of the dimensions of Gratz equipment that they might not even have because they never needed to. They've always been working off of a blueprint that they've always had, and they've never had to question it.
Yes.
They've just used it. And when I am you're on the long box. You're doing
Pull straps or T-pull.
not even you're doing
Backstroke.
Backstroke. Thank you. You're doing backstroke, and you've got your two springs on, and you're coming into your transition to drop a spring, coming into teaser.
Yes.
Where that spring is, the distance of that spring, right? You've got the handles in your hand. You're in your teaser. You're spinning your body off to one side, and you dip down with the other hand, and you pop that spring off. That's a muscle memory. That's like playing the violin and hitting the string and hitting the note that you've hit 10,000 times before, and that's the note. There's no marking. It's not a fret. You just know where your finger is to hit that note. So when you spin around and you reach down to drop that spring, if it's a half inch further or an inch closer, you feel off balance because it's not where you expect it. So that is the insight that we've brought to the design. So when I say it's classical, it's the idea that anyone who is familiar with what the classical equipment is, they shouldn't have to relearn their movement.
Oh.
So that was the design restraints, the parameters that I placed on it. Now, the example of what's different, the foot bar and the kickstand, the foot bar lock. It's treacherous on any classical piece of equipment because you can pull the foot bar back and you fall backwards because nothing locks it in place. In fact, I tell all my new clients, it's commonly called a foot bar, but it's a misnomer because sometimes your feet are on it, sometimes your hands are on it. What it is a push bar. It should only be pushed. You should never pull on it because if you pull on it, there's no lock. Your ass overhead on the back end of the carriage, and you're falling into the well behind you because it's not made to pull. It's only made to push. Now, if you look back at the older design for even Grotzmade, there is no, not even a
lip. There's no
lip on the edge. It's just a flat shelf.
Yeah, scary.
Okay. So it's foolish. So what I went about doing is, 15 iterations. I went about creating a kickstand lock that doesn't need any other muscle memory. If you are in lying position and you take your foot and you lift up on the foot bar and you push the kickstand forward, the foot bar drops down, just like everyone's used to. But it's a particular curlicue profile of a piece of metal, and it's angled at just the angle that if you pull back on the foot bar catches in that curlicue and it locks it in place. But when you go to drop the foot bar, you just push the kick stand forward and it drops out of place and it doesn't hang up on anything. So it was just a lot of cutting metal and bending metal and figuring out, where it should be and how it should work so that it's safer.
Yes.
Just why not make it safer if it doesn't cost any effort? You don't have to relearn anything. So that's an example of how, looking at the design, we thought, oh, there's a better way here. The other thing, we have a tower unit, and I'm looking at the tower unit and I'm going, they're a fucking pain in the ass. They stand 2.5 feet or something off the wall. They take up all this space. A studio could easily have 5 of them in a row. That's a lot of space. So I said, and thinking about home use, again, making something accessible. So I designed the tower so it folds up against the wall. It folds flat up against the wall. It doesn't take any space. Anyone, no tools, You just lift it up and push it. It sits up against the wall. You're ready to use it. You pull it down, it drops down, and you go about your work.
Okay, so you're not bolting it into the floor?
No, it's not. It's bolted into the wall. And in fact, there are lots of studios will have a tower unit that has the mounting plates, 2 mounting plates up against the wall, because maybe your landlord won't let you drill into the floor, or maybe you have a concrete floor and it's just a pain to drill into it. So a lot of time what those will have is it's not attached to the floor. It's the base is attached to the wall behind it and to the wall above it, but they're rigid, they're fixed. Ours will fold up against the wall, and it doesn't take any effort, and it fits within an 8-foot ceiling. So you can push it up. If you got an 8-foot ceiling, you can push it up against the wall. It sits right there.
How many pieces then? So it's going to be 2 pieces?
The as far as the number of apparatus, or as far as the tower itself?
The wall. So, right. So the wall, you don't call it the wall unit.
Yeah, we call it a wall unit.
Okay. So the wall unit has the mat.
So it has, well, okay.
That's something else. Like the high mat is something else. That we're talking about what's fastened to the wall.
Yeah, what's fastened to the wall. But again, how you look at things, man, this is more detail than anyone really wants on the face of the earth. Look, you look at a standard tower, and there's about 12, 13 eye hooks going up one side. And everyone looks at them, and you kind of go, I think it's this one, or maybe this one. Let's try this one. Let's see how this one is. We'll play with it. And when you think that the tower, the wall unit, is a replication of the Cadillac. And when you look at a Cadillac and you go, well, how many freaking eye bolts are on a Cadillac? There's
3,
like
4.
7 positions.
Yeah, it's nothing. But don't you think part of the reason why the wall unit became popular is because there was more versatility there, and the wall unit classes came about? Who's going to have 10 Cadillacs opposed to 10 wall units? So if you offer lots of variations and lots of places for the eye bolts to be, it just means the classes get to be more. This is where sometimes COVID comes back into my brain because I have a hard time.
Okay, you get cloudy finding the word.
I lose my words.
I don't have any excuse. God bless you that you have an excuse. Me,
well, just that the class is versatile and varied.
Yeah. You offer more accessibility because you're dealing with different body types, and maybe someone stands taller, maybe someone's short. Yeah, there's a place for that, but there are people that will fight to the grave that the 82-inch reformer is perfect. In Joseph Pilates, genius mind.
Wow, I've never heard 82. I've only heard 80 and 86. 80 inch.
80 inch, yeah. 80. That genius is perfect for anyone from 4'8" to 6'2".
No.
Yeah, but people will say that's that it is perfect for anyone within that range. That his genius was extensive. Okay, so the point is there's a balance between making something customizable, making something adjustable, but making something easy to use. So to that point, I pared down the number of eye hooks that is on the wall unit. But what none of the towers take into account for all of those eye bolts, what they don't take into account, and this is a question of where do you want your adjustability? Where do you want your flexibility? Floor mat, a high mat, and a bench mat. Okay, so on a wall unit, Wall units are generally only made for a high mat. It's 5 inches off the ground.
Exactly.
If you don't have a high mat, but you only have a floor mat, well, nothing is lining up. And God forbid you have a bench mat or a standing mat, as we call it, you're 14 inches off the ground.
Correct.
Okay, so the folks in Brazil, I mean, God bless them. They have wall units, and they have raised mats that are about, I think, maybe around 12 inches off the ground to save the instructor's back.
Hey everyone, want to level up your teaser? When I'm not interviewing or editing, I'm helping students just like you get to the next level. If you'd like to understand the Contrology technique, come learn from me, whether online or in person. Just know I'm here and happy to help. Now, back to the interview.
I mean, right? Because usually if you're teaching someone on the wall unit, you're kneeling on the floor next to them or you're bending down over them. But if you have a raised mat that you can use, then that saves you from always having to bend down. Okay, so we have a lot of holes in our tower units, but the holes are measured out for those 3 heights.
That's excellent.
So you can have the eye bolts pre-installed for whatever height you're going to use, or you can move them yourself. There's nothing proprietary. You can move them up and down. And there are extra holes that if you want to put extra eye bolts in, you can go crazy. You can put as many eye bolts in as you want. But for the sake of clarity, our towers will ship with the appropriate eye bolts for a particular height.
Do you measure with the Gratz Cadillac, for example? I ask this because the measurement from the mat to where the eye bolt is for leg springs is different than on their wall unit. So you have to, and the same with the standing arm springs. So it does matter what you're standing on.
Yeah, it absolutely does matter what you're standing on. And I will just share with you, because we have a screen. For all of you in the listening audience, I will apologize because you won't benefit. But
you could describe it.
We'll enjoy this. So what I am going to show you here is my template that takes the, okay, let's see here. Hold on. Okay. You see that? Okay. So
I see that
is
okay. Yes.
Positioning.
So we're looking at the 2 poles with the push-through bar. Is your push-through bar aluminum or wood?
Aluminum.
Okay. It's aluminum.
Yeah.
And the middle is the middle piece wood or no?
Plastic.
Oh, it's plastic. That's interesting. Does that take us down another road?
I have sworn off all wood.
Okay, because we do things with the chin, and I'm wondering how the chin responds to the plastic.
Number one, there's a the plastic is
high grade, fancy plastic.
Not even that. It's just it's microbial. It's antimicrobial. Nothing attaches to it. The stuff is great. I mean, sweat doesn't soak into it. It doesn't swell up with the humidity. I mean, the stuff is just inert. So that's an idea of the measurements that we've used and how we've mapped them out across from the Cadillac to the tower.
Okay, so essentially, it won't matter from your design. So it won't matter if somebody is. How many inches is the Cadillac from floor to mat?
From floor to mat, it's I think
20.
It's, I was gonna say 19, but let me. I got measurements.
So it doesn't matter if you're on the caddy, lying down or kneeling for chest expansion, or any of the other exercises, rolling in and out, that the relationship with the eye hooks are going to be the same whether you are up high or whether you're down at a 4-inch or 6-inch high mat.
Because the all of those have moved in association with each other at the same proportion. It's 24 inches tall.
That's
the
what I
mat
thought.
From the floor on the Cadillac is 24.
Yeah.
For all of you keeping score at home.
Yes. I thought it was 24, but I was waiting for you. Yes.
But you know, I have no memory for anything, even the things that I build. And what you see there is just a
Joseph. For our listeners, Joseph is scrolling down on his iPad, I guess.
Yep.
All the different. This is Grot's apparatus.
or Basel, but
it looks like
it's mostly all Grot's.
So we're looking at armchairs, Wanda chairs, the Cadillac, and the wall units. And so you're swearing off wood because wood is heavy and cumbersome. And one of your ideas or main ideas is that to make it so accessible. I think I asked you this in the pre-interview. It's kind of like the IKEA of Pilates in a upscaled way. Well,
we take no insult even in the downscale way.
Okay.
It should be. And to answer that question in the most crass way possible.
Oh no.
Anytime you use a piece of wood, you have dedicated space. You have people who are dedicated and processes for just handling that material. It has to be cut. It has to be sanded. It has to be painted or varnished. You have to have a breathing apparatus. You have to have sectioned off space in the shop to support all that, so the sand or so the overspray isn't going all over the place. It just invites a headache. And let me make this point clear. The motivation to design and manufacture this apparatus is not to create showpieces for a spa, boutique, meditation space. It is to make a accessible place for people to come and play, to work out, to discover their body. And there are enough boutiques where people can go and have a experience, can have a rejuvenation and, have all of those niceties that they look for. And there are plenty of Pilates manufacturers that make equipment that is absolutely beautiful, stunning. I am not taking anything away from their mastery of craft. It's all beautiful, but it's all targeting that same group. And our stuff is just a little bit closer to a kid's playground. It's just not meant to be pampered. It should not need to be pampered. Maybe it squeaks a bit. You're definitely not going to get it in the color that you want it to. Maybe it gets scratched. But the fact of the matter is, it should be more affordable, it should be more accessible, and it should mean that more people are having the opportunity to use it. And after that, I don't care about anything else. The same point goes with upholstery. If you upholster anything, you've got 5 people who are in a room who are extremely skilled at what they do, and it's all that they do. And it looks beautiful. But there's just so much inertia in the manufacturing process once you...
So you don't have choices. There's no, it's just, is it all
We're
black?
using foam. My first choice is just a foam matting. That's a solid piece. There's a texture on it. And There's nothing wrapping it. There's no vinyl on it.
How do you clean it?
You spray it down with gasoline if you want. The stuff doesn't disintegrate. The stuff is, and again, it's antimicrobial. I mean, so it states that. I'm being flexible though, and there are some people that feel we should offer something that is upholstered, and so
okay. As your business starts to grow and take root,
yeah.
Could I ask you?
Go ahead.
Because I know that you and I could have many conversations about just what we're talking about. It could go down in a lot of different paths. I want to make sure that people know, one, when is your launch date? Two, when will your website be up so people can at least look at your apparatus? And three, and maybe most importantly, a manual or a video to fully explain your apparatus so people can more quickly start to play and start to work and have a good time on your apparatus. Was that just too much?
No, I can turn all of that into mush with no problem at all. We're doing some level of backdoor sales right now, and that's really just letting us cut our teeth on the manufacturing process. We're coming out with only 3 pieces first. That's the tower, that's the standing mat or high mat, or floor mat. Ours is interchangeable between all 3 of those, and a wonder chair. So those 3 are what we're doing first. Lots of reasons why those 3 first, but they're small enough units. It's the stuff that people can have in their home also. So it makes it, an entry point so that people can get these things in their homes. So reasons like that. So we're getting them in people's hands so that we can get feedback if something needs to be adjusted. And we just can get the flow of producing things on a small scale. Because, again, my anger, my frustration with the whole process is not being able to deliver these things to people in a timely fashion.
Yes, in a timely manner, yes.
So the last place I want to be is taking orders and saying we're not going to ship it
13
for
months.
4 months or 5 months. Yeah, I mean, ideally, we want to be able to turn these things around in a week. I mean, there's just no reason why we can't. And again, we're the machine. The process that we have designed as far as how to manufacture is akin to McDonald's. The genius of McDonald's was someone looked at, the process of making hamburgers and shakes and saying, this can be done better.
Right.
And that's what the McDonald brothers did. I mean, they came up with this. Roy Kroc, capitalized on it. But the brothers themselves were the ones working at a fast food burger joint going, oh no, we can maximize this. And so looking at the manufacturing process, every step of the way, and not letting anything go unturned. If we say, and it's a common habit, if we say, oh, that's not too heavy for some guy to pick up, then we have to step back and go, well, why are we picturing a guy?
Right.
Why are we picturing the manufacturing process to be a bunch of guys working in the shop? Why can't it be a bunch of women? And what does it mean that we could make it accessible to a bunch of women? And does it make it any worse for anyone else? So all of our stuff is on casters and wheels as it's going through the shop, as it's going through the production line. Anyone can wheel whatever raw material they need to the station and start working on it. No one has to pick up 30 pounds of whatever and move it.
Well, how much does your Wanda chair weigh in relation to the other chairs that are wood based?
That is such a weighty question. Listen, my right now it's pretty light. I mean, much lighter. And it's a good thing. It's kind of a bad thing.
But not light enough so that someone's going to flip over. The bottom of it is weighty.
It's stable. It's stable, and the pedal weighs the same, right? So the feel. Oh,
the pedal is the same
right,
weight as.
The pedal is counterbalance to the spring. So if the spring is, if you expect a certain resistance, well, you have to take into account the weight of the pedal, and our pedal weighs the same as a conventional pedal, but the whole unit itself weighs much less because there's no wood. There's no wood. It's all aluminum pipe. So it is, you're doing corkscrew on the floor, and you grab a hold of the Wonder Chair.
Got it.
And you're bringing your feet up. Well, if the Wonder Chair is too light, it's moving around on you.
Right.
Now, you can butt it up against the wall. If you're doing push-ups on the Wonder Chair and you've got your feet on the pedal and you walk your hands out and you're doing push-ups on the Wonder Chair, it's standard practice to push that Wonder Chair up against the wall because you know you're going to push it back. So we do make allowances for positioning the Wonder Chair in such a manner that it works in our favor. Okay, so I made the Wonder Chair light. Anyone can pick it up and move it in the studio. How hard is it to pick up a wooden Wonder Chair? They weigh a ton.
Okay, I know it's true because way back when I took one of my chairs with me in my car and went to people's homes to give lessons. It makes me think this might be very attractive for people who do go to people's homes, that they would have apparatus with the design that we are familiar with, but that it's workable and light enough and easy enough to put together and then to take down and put back into the car.
Yeah. Well, making it collapsible is another. That's another story. And so I wouldn't say we've designed it to be collapsible. We've designed it to be movable yet. In time. Yeah. But it light enough that you can actually maneuver it. Yes, but I late at night when the house is quiet, I sit there and ponder, is it too light? Maybe we need to make it a little bit heavier. And so I try to find that balance. So those are the three pieces. I think. But
wait a second. With those three pieces, you're going to have some manual or a video.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I've spent a life as a photographer. I've spent a life teaching photography and Pilates and lots of things. And I've spent a lifetime being severely dyslexic, learning disabilities coming and going. Most of that time in classes in school were spent looking at people standing at the front of the classroom going, oh, you really do this badly. I mean, the figuring out how to educate people, how to instruct people is, I take as such a responsibility. I just do not take it lightly. So being able to produce a manual, being able to actually show people how to do something easily is not something that we leave to someone else. So we'll be making the manuals, we'll be making the videos ourselves, and only after we know how to communicate it well. And that's why we're not rushing anything. If the website goes live towards the end of the summer, if we start shipping things, that's a target that we're looking for. So somewhere in August maybe, or we are looking to be live with those three pieces so that we have all of that support material, YouTube videos, so that people can just see how it's done and me talking people through the process. So that would be the goal.
Okay, so your website around August.
Yeah.
people can
Yeah.
start. What's the name of your website?
It's it's Universal Pilates Machine.com. It's singular machine, but we also have a UniPMac, UNIPMAC.com. So either one will get you to the landing page. So yeah, we knew we needed a shorter URL. So and UniPMac, it spells just the way it sounds, and it's obviously the first part of each three words. So that's the goal for when we would launch, and those are the three pieces that we're launching. And price point, no one's trusting me with numbers, and Russell and Charlie are very smart for doing that. But less expensive than what any classical piece of
a third, a half, a third.
I'm pushing for a third less on everything across the board.
That's very attractive.
Well, it's so attractive that Russell and Charlie are saying to me, "You're a freaking idiot. Just shut up." And I'm going.
Yeah,
kids,
the whole point to make it accessible.
We're making something. We're making something that, yeah, that's right. That's right. We can't lie on a profit margin and go, oh, we've got room here. It's like, no, we don't have any room. If we can't cut this down to its teeth, then we're designing it badly, and we have to figure out how to do it, correctly. And that's why upholstery and colors and all those things, they all look lovely. They're all beautiful. It just adds cost to the process. And
yeah,
I have people dropping $6,000 on a mattress.
Yes.
They come into the studio, they lay down on the Cadillac, and they go, "This is the best feeling thing I've ever." And it's a piece of foam on a platform. I mean, there's nothing.
Do you have a wait list or a pre-order list that is available now? What happens if somebody wants to contact you now? How do they contact you?
They could email us at info@universalpilatesmachine.com. And .com, and we could put we can put their name on a list just to keep them posted. But we don't want to build any expectations of a pre-order, because then once that happens, people are like, well, when's it coming? When's it coming? And that's just again, it's just not a position that we want to put ourselves in. But we can collect names and start a list so that when things start rolling out, we can let them know. But it's a good process, but it's a long process.
Yes, yeah, it's a long game. It's a long game.
Yeah, absolutely, because the intention of this is really what Joseph Pilates could never make materialize. I mean, Joseph Pilates had a boutique studio. It was just one space. He ran his classes out of it. He had his
he had two spaces, right? He had two spaces.
Well, he never worked out of the
back room, as they call it.
Oh no, not Bendel's is what I was thinking.
Oh, Bendel's. Okay.
I mean, there was Bendel's, but it never. I mean, he never reached the market penetration that he wanted to, and part of that is the same problem as it is today. Anytime you take, as we currently know it, two pieces of metal and you have to weld them together, that is a lot of skill. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of process. That's why, I mean, literally, like with the wood, like with the upholstery, I've gone through absolutely everything and tried my best to cut away at anything that gets in the way of making these things more accessible. I mean, just in every manner, every nut and bolt. I am embarrassed if someone were to say, "Well, what'd you do today?" I go, "Well, I found every bolt that would fit. That's the same size that you can use a 4mm Allen wrench for, so that you only have one tool to put this whole freaking thing together.
Yes.
How much time does it take to find every specific fastener that you need that fits that criteria? And
well, you're going to collect probably have a large fan base. Sounds like the thought.
If it works.
Well, you don't know until you try, and we're only here once that we know of. So
that's right.
You just go for your biggest dreams.
Yeah, and again, if our only desire is to make it more accessible, and I have to say in all honesty, if you were hosting a podcast right now talking to 3 Black women who have jumped into the a Pilates manufacturing field and said we're making equipment because we're tired of a bunch of old white men doing this, I would be more excited than anything. That would bring me so much pleasure. And the fact that we just happen to be 3 old white men doing this, I really am. I'm sorry about it. But the fact of the matter is,
you'll bring on some new partners.
We can only hope. But if there were 3 women looking to do this right now, I would sit down and tell them everything I know, because I would just think it's just too freaking long. It's been, there needs to be fundamental changes, and
it is happening. It's just as with everything, it's slow.
It is slow,
but it's happening, and there's more awareness and there's more excitement.
Well, making the effort is worth it. And so, yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk. You tell anyone listening, feel free to hit me up, and I'll be happy to talk with you. Because,
all right.
Yeah, I would rather see more people doing this than the same people having been doing it for, 75 years.
Agreed. And that goes along with the same teachers always headlining international conferences.
There's always those issues. Yes, there are always those.
Yes.
But again, at the same time, not to be contradictory. At the same time, I know I've spent a lifetime building things. I know that I've had access to a shop where I assembled. I have a home. I have a garage. I can build a shop. I can build anything that I need. The people who
you're spreading your passion and your knowledge.
Yeah, and so the fact of the matter is,
unapologetically,
with apologies, because there are lots of other people who, if they had the same privileges, the same opportunities, they might be doing it themselves, but they haven't had those opportunities.
But you're one of the people that perhaps are going to create those opportunities.
And again, that is why we're designing the business. We're designing the manufacturing process in such a way. My greatest dream would be to see more shops replicate what we're doing, and we help them get their footing and talk them through, this is how you set up the shop. And like a McDonald's franchise, we've done all of that work. That would be. That's
awesome. That's a great long-term goal. Fantastic.
Launching in August would be the first.
Yes, the first of many.
That's right. First step.
Yes, first step. Joseph DeRuvo, thank you for being here and sharing your vision and your creativity and your willingness to be open about your process. Hopefully by August, things are going to change for you.
One can pray. And I can only thank you for keeping this train on the track.
Yes. You're welcome.
I feel for you. It must be a fight.
It's my own interesting process for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All Things Pilates is produced, written, edited, and hosted by me, Darian Gold. Mastered audio mix, Fabian Romero. Original music, aka Johnny. And we'd love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That way you let all of us know what you like about All Things Pilates. Also, if you're interested in helping to support this podcast, become a subscriber. It helps to cover all the back-end costs that accrue when producing a show. To learn more about how you can be part of our growing community, check out our show notes. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in the life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle for me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got a hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. A Splendid Torch by George Bernard Shaw.